Welcome to another Mathnificent conversation. It's your favorite nerdy bestie, Lex. Today's special guest is factoring a quadratic trinomial when a is greater than 1. And we're going to focus strictly on the AC method in this conversation. So grab your pencils and let's go. When we're factoring a quadratic trinomial, a bigger than 1, and remember a is that leading term or leading coefficient, using the AC method, you need to know how to factor by grouping. So if you haven't watched the factor by grouping video, or you don't know how to factor by grouping, please check out the factor by grouping video because it is very necessary when you're using the AC method. So we've got 4 steps we're going to cover. First, we're going to multiply A and C. Second, similar to when A is equal to 1, list the factor pairs of AC, and we're going to choose the pair that adds to equal to B. We're going to replace B with our factor pair, and then we're going to factor by grouping. Okay, let's identify our pieces to the puzzle. So we know this is A, this is B, and this is C. Step 1 tells us to multiply A times C. So A times C is going to be 2 times 24, which is 48. Step 2 says list the factor pairs of 48. I'm not going to list them all, but I'm going to go until I reach the factor pair that when I add them equals B. C is positive and B is positive, so I know my factor pairs are going to just be positive. So we've got 1 and 48. When we add those, we get 49. That's not it. 2 and 24. When we add those, we get 26. That's not it. 3 and 16. When we add those, we get 19, which is what we are looking for. 2 numbers that when we multiply get 48, but when we add them, we get 19. So step 3 says replace our factor pair with B. So 2x squared plus 3x plus 16x plus 24. As you can see, I've just rewritten my original quadratic, but instead of writing 19x, I've replaced it with 3x plus 16x, which is equivalent to 19x. That's why we're allowed to do that. Step 4 says factor by grouping. So that we know that means we group together the first 2 terms and we group together the last 2 terms. Then we factor out the GCF from each grouping. GCF between 2x squared and 3x is only x, and we're left with 2x plus 3. GCF between 16x and 24 is 8. 16x divided by x is 2x, and 24 divided by 8 is 3. Last step in factor by grouping is that binomial GCF. Both terms have a 2x plus 3. We're going to factor that out. In the first term, if we factor out 2x plus 3, we're left with x. In the second term, if we factor out 2x plus 3, we're left with 8. So 2x squared plus 19x plus 24 factors into 2x plus 3 times x plus 8. Our next example, we're going to factor 15x squared plus 7x minus 4. Going to follow our same steps. Step 1, first let's see our key players A, B, and C. Step 1 says multiply A times C, which is 15 times negative 4, which is negative 60. Step 2 says list my factor pairs of negative 60 and choose the factor pair that adds to B, which is 7. Now, like I discussed, when A equals 1, if C is negative, we know we have to list both the positive and negative factor pairs. So negative 1 and 60, but this adds to 59. But we also want to check 1 and negative 60, but that adds to negative 59. Let's check negative 4 and 15. That adds to 11, and 4 and negative 15 adds to negative 11, and negative 5 and 12 adds to positive 7. So I can stop right there, and I know my factor pair is negative 5 and 12. So step 3 tells me replace my B term with my factor pair. Negative 5x plus 12x minus 4. Now, this plus minus here, we don't really like. So when I go to factor by grouping, and I'm going to come up here for step 4, I'm just going to write 15x squared minus 5x, and then 12x minus 4 when I group together in step 4. GCF between 15x squared and negative 5x is going to be 5x. 15x squared divided by 5x is 3x. Negative 5x divided by 5x is negative 1. GCF between 12x and 4 is positive 4. 12x divided by 4 is 3x. And negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Factor out the 3x minus 1 because it's a GCF between both of my terms. When I factor it out the first term, I'm left with 5x. When I factor it out the second term, I'm left with 4. So 15x squared plus 7x minus 4 factors into 3x minus 1 times 5x plus 4. Our next example, let's factor 14x squared minus 39x plus 10. So we know step 1 is multiply A and C. 14 times 10 is 140. AC is positive, but B is negative. That lets me know when I'm listing out my factor pairs, they should both be negative, because the only way to multiply to a positive but add to a negative is if both numbers are negative. So let's start negative 10 and negative 14, but those add to negative 24. Negative 5 and negative 28, but those add to negative 33. Negative 7 and negative 20, but that adds to negative 27. Negative 4 and negative 35, bingo, that adds to negative 39. So step 3, replace B with my factor pairs. So 14x squared minus 4x minus 35x plus 10. Okay, step 4, factor by grouping. Group together first two terms. And like I said, when A equals 1, if this term here is negative, bring that negative inside the grouping. If you leave it outside, it can cause issues with factoring out your GCF. Okay, GCF between 14x squared and negative 4x is 2x. 14x squared divided by 2x is 7x. Negative 4x divided by 2x is negative 2. GCF between negative 35x and 10 is negative 5. Remember, if that first term in the second grouping is negative, you always want to factor that negative out. Negative 35x divided by negative 5 is 7x, and 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. Factor out our binomial GCF, 7x minus 2. First term, I'm left with 2x. Second term, I'm left with negative 5. So 14x squared minus 39x plus 10 factors to 7x minus 2 times 2x minus 5. All right, we've come to our last example. We're going to factor 24x squared minus 2x minus 1. Step 1, multiply a and c. So that's 24 times negative 1, which is negative 24. Step 2, list out our factor pairs. AC is negative, negative 24, and B is also negative. Remember, if AC is negative, you need to list out both sets with the positive and negative switched. So negative 2 times 12, but when I add those, I get 10. But we also need to check 2 and negative 12. That adds to negative 10. Negative 3 and 8. That adds to 5. Also check 3 and negative 8. That's negative 5. Negative 4 and 6 adds to positive 2. 4 and negative 6 adds to negative 2. So that's our winner. So step 3, 24x squared, replace b with our factor pair, plus 4x minus 6x minus 1. Last step is step 4, factor by grouping. So group together the first two and the last two. In the first set, the GCF between 24x squared and 4x is 4x. 24x squared divided by 4x is 6x. 4x divided by 4x is positive 1. GCF between negative 6x and negative 1 is negative 1. Negative 6x divided by negative 1 is 6x. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. Factor out that binomial GCF, which is 6x plus 1. First term, we're left with 4x. Second term, we're left with negative 1. So 24x squared minus 2x minus 1 factors into 6x plus 1 times 4x minus 1. I hope this video has been very helpful. Stay tuned for a quicker way to factor quadratic trinomials, but it's always best to know all the ways. Have a great day.